Hello! Sorry I didn't do a video yesterday. We had a bit of a drama in the house. So I got in from work, put dinner on, cooked everything. We had a bit of a rush actually. We were, running around doing everything. By the time we got the kids to bed, it was like 7:30, 8. And I'm sat downstairs talking to my mum, and Lamp Up comes down and says, "Oh, Mummy wants you upstairs. Can you go up and talk to her?" She didn't say why, and I'm thinking, probably a spider up there or something. I'll nip up and I'll get it, it'll be all right. I'll just get it in a cup and jobs are good. And I went upstairs and she was sat with Bosco on the floor, and he was getting ready for bed. He had his t-shirt on and some underwear on, and all of his legs both of his legs, from the knees down were just covered in bruises. It looked like someone had taken a BB gun to him and just shot loads of pellets at his legs. And we were just sort of looking at him, and I said, "Well, how did you get them?" And he was like, "I don't know, don't know." And we were like, "Well, did you fall over? Did you hurt yourself? Did you trip on something?" And Mrs. Sheepdog sort of saying, "Well, they weren't there this morning because she put him in shorts, and we'd have noticed he was wearing shorts until about midday." He'd gone out to the park with my mum, and we were like, "Well, did you fall over at the park? Did you hurt yourself there? Was there a ride you went on? Did you kind of crawl around on the floor? What's the situation?" And my mum's racking her brain, bless her, go, "He didn't fall." I was like, "Did you ever fight with anyone?" And he's like, "No." And we're sort of going through all these different ideas, and then I'm starting to think, well, is it a bruise or is it a rash? Because it's literally everywhere. There's I'm counting it, and I'm thinking there's 30 of these little round circles. It honest to me looked like someone had just paintballed him or something. And I'm rolling a glass on it, and I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I'm thinking, is it a glass for rashes? And if the rash doesn't disappear, then it's something that could be dangerous. But we're like, well, should it disappear or should it not disappear? Should it change colour? Should it... So in the end, I thought, the safest thing to do, in the UK, we have 111. You dial it. It's like an emergency, but not. You dial and you have a chat with them over the phone. They ask you a set of questions, and they were like, is the child confused? Is the child happy? Is the child okay? Is everything all right? Is everything normal? And I answered all the questions. And actually, when she's asking me the questions, I'm thinking, well, no, he's perfectly happy, he's jumping around, he's absolutely fine, it's all good, there's nothing wrong. She gets to the end of the 10 questions and she's like, "I want you to bring him into a doctor straight away. We'll make you an appointment for 9:45 tonight. Bring him to this place about, I don't know, 6 or 7 miles away it was." And we're like, oh God, so we're trying to say to him, it's all okay, don't worry, we're just going to take you to see a doctor. And we drove across. We got in the car and went straight out the door, thinking that we'll get there in half an hour, let's say, and then the wait will be 20 minutes. We got there about an hour early because we were so on it. We just said to my mum, "Look after Lamp Up," and off we went. Bosco's nattering away in the back playing on Pokemon Go, and I'm just sort of trying to chat to him and make sure that he's not changing at all, because I was saying, has he got confused or anything? And I was thinking, if I keep talking to him and he sounds all right, he'll be fine. We got seen pretty quick. We had to sit for 15 minutes, but then the doctor called us in, and pretty much instantly he was like, "There's nothing to worry about, everything's fine." And we said to him, "Well, what is this?" And he was just like, "It just looks like he's just had them come on over time, and some of them look older than others." And he said, they're just common bruises." And I felt so stupid because they were just bruises. We knew that, but it was the fact that there was no explanation. And he said, "Well, has he been riding a bike?" And we're like, "Yeah, he did do his bike on Saturday, but he didn't have any bruises on Saturday. He didn't have any bruises Sunday or Monday morning." And he was like, "Well, maybe they've just come on over time. Maybe he's just kind of, it's just not been very clear or whatever. Maybe you missed a couple of them." And we were like, "Well, can you just double check?" And he had a good look, and he asked him questions, and he was playing with him and just checking it was generally all right. And he just sort of said, "Off you go." But I've never felt, well, I have felt sillier. I was going to say I haven't felt sillier, but this is I feel like you've got to be cautious, haven't you? With kids, you've got to just kind of go with the better to just go and feel like you're wasting their time for 10 minutes rather than leave it and then your kid gets really sick. But when Lamp Up was probably 3 or 4 months old, she just randomly had this big pink lump appear on her back, and that freaked us out. And we rang up, did the same thing. I mean, if I've learned anything, 111, do leap to the biggest conclusion. In fact, I'll go back before Lamp Up was a baby. Mrs. Sheepdog, when she was pregnant with Lamp Up, randomly started vomiting blood, and I rang them and they were like, "Yeah, just get her into the hospital, mate, get her to A&E." And her mum and dad had to drive us into A&E. It must have been about 11 o'clock at night, and I was and she was still being sick, and they sat in the car for 2-3 hours while we sat in the A&E listening to this bloke ramble on about the different names of the Rambo films and all the Rocky films and all of this, and he was drunk off his head. And she vomited a couple of times. They took it as samples, they looked through it, and they said, it's okay, you've just cut your throat. And they gave her something to sort of ease the pain, and that was it. And then when we got home, we felt guilty again, and it was like, and we went to, everything was fine with the pregnancy, but then Lamp Up was 3 months old, and as I say, this pink lump on her back, and we rang again, and we were like, look, this wasn't here this morning. It's just appeared suddenly. What is it? And they were like, okay, bring her into it. And we rushed her in, and we were all panicking. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what if it's some sort of lump that I need to cut out and all of this? And again, it turned out to be absolutely fine. It was just some sort of strawberry birthmark thing. I forget what they call it now, but so again, like that's 3 times, like two in the past and 1 today, where it felt like we've overreacted to this massively, and it's embarrassing. And you think to yourself, the strain the NHS is under, for people like us to go in like that is bad. I feel like there'll be people watching thinking, you pillock, but it was so scary. I mean, especially Busco, he was so cheerful. You just thought to yourself, if I go to bed and I wake up in the morning and he's just got even more of him over him, and this is getting worse and worse, and they tell us that we should have brought him in, that's gonna haunt me forever. Do you know what I mean? If I left that like a day and then he was so sick and he needed all sorts of issues and like blood and whatever, I'd have felt terrible. With the baby, we were just convinced it was sort of the end of days almost. That it was so. I mean, you can imagine, first baby, we went a bit nuts. Weirdly, the one time, and this is how annoying it is. This is how unpredictable the whole thing is. The one time we weren't particularly fussed was when Bosco was probably, I don't know, a year, maybe 18 months old, and he had a bit of a cough and a cold, and he was really bunged. He was really sort of unwell, and it seemed to be really hitting him. And Mrs. Sheepdog took him to the doctors, and the doctor listened to his breathing and basically said, can you drive? If you can't, I'm going to get him an ambulance. And they rushed him off to hospital in the car. And I got a call at work. I got the receptionist at the school I used to work at come in and said to me, your son's been taken to hospital. And I ran out the door crying. I was an absolute mess. I was just like, why has he been rushed to hospital? He's only like 18 months old or whatever he was. He might have been a little bit older, but I'm trying to just straighten it out in my head. And when I got there, I felt this is classic Sheepdog life of just... the taxi driver pulled up because I didn't drive then, and he's like, right, that'll be whatever. And I was like, mate, I'm not paying for it, the school are paying for it. And I got out and ran off. The taxi driver ran after me and chased me into the hospital, and I was like, mate, leave me alone, my son's in here, I need to check he's all right. And he followed me all the way in, right into the bit where I got caught up with Mrs. Sheepdog and Bosco. And then he realised, he was like, I shouldn't be chasing this man. I shouldn't be chasing him. And I was like, I was like, I'm sorry. The school are paying for this. They've booked it. Go after them. It's their account. I haven't got any money on me. Go away. But that was actually something. That was actually, I mean, it wasn't anything major, but he had to spend like 2 days, I think, in hospital on like a nebulizer that kept clearing his airwaves. I can't remember what it's called. It's quite a common issue that kids get, and it can be very dramatic. But that's the one time we just thought, he's all right, we'll go see a doctor tomorrow. And then he ended up there for days. That was petrifying. Mrs. Sheepdog had to sleep in the bed with him, like bed next to him for days in this hospital. I had to sort of come home and look after Lamp Up and that. So you feel like you can't let your guard down. Kids are a nightmare. I don't think there's been any other bits. Touch wood, we've been relatively all right. It's been me in the past. I used to have a thing, and I'll round up after this story, but I had this issue where I don't know what caused. I do know what caused it, and I'm sure I've spoken about it before, but I didn't know what caused it at the time. Where I just get excruciating pains in my kidneys, and I remember going into hospital, and basically, must have been about 11 o'clock at night, and I was in so much agony. My mum and dad took me into A&E, and they took a urine sample on the spot, and it was nearly black, and my mum was giving me loads of water, trying to help me clear out whatever. And then they come back and said they'd lost the urine sample. They took another one and it was just clear. And then the pain went away, and they were like, we can't find anything wrong. And we went back, and we think it was just because I was like 17, I'd been living off fizzy drinks or something. I don't know. We just assumed that maybe I drank so many fizzy drinks it had basically ruined me. But it was one of those things where I was just like, this was so painful. I don't do that anymore. I don't drink today. But it was another one where it was like we went down there and it was such a weird false alarm because I was in agony for hours. Like, even in the waiting, I was in agony. And then suddenly it all just went as if by magic and never was a problem again. And so my mum and dad aren't averse to it either. I feel like we're lucky we've got the NHS, and we're lucky that I've not, all of the times I've needed it have been relatively false alarms, but it's mental. I'm hoping we don't need it in any kind of real dramatic way. I feel guilty the amount of, this is why people should pay tax. I feel awkward now. I feel like I've basically gone, these are the 5 times I've wasted the NHS's time and money on false alarms, but oh, it's stressful. I was going there last night thinking, man, like, I've just started to calm down from whatever was causing me to feel stressed, and then poor old Bosco's not feeling well. And I'm not making it about me, but I was just like, I don't need this to be the new thing that he's unwell. But I got home today and my mum said she took him to the park, and she can see this bit that he was jumping around on, and she thinks that's where he's probably got the bruises. There's this like weird metal netting around one of the rides that they go on, and he's been jumping around on it, and she's like, he's probably got a few more. But it's such a relief to know that he wasn't unwell. We didn't get home till about 10:30, 11:15. They saw us really quick, but it was just the whole faff and everything. By the time I got back, I was like, we're not doing a video. But no, glad it was a false alarm. Glad everything is okay. And yeah, it gave me something to cover off today, I suppose. It reminded me of the other times we've been stupid. I imagine we've got to do it all with Boo Boo next. He's going to have all these random false alarms and nonsense like that. Kids are hilariously fun, aren't they? It's all good fun and games. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching today. Subscribe, like, comment, all that stuff. Yeah, let me know your stories, I guess. It's always interesting to hear what people say. To respond to one of my latest comments from my friend Shelley, I'm not going to try becoming a vegetarian. It's not up my street. My wife's a vegetarian and I always try her food. But I would miss the odd piece of meat. Meat's rare enough in my house as it is. I don't want to be going without it. Thank you very much. But that's all from me, and I'll see you tomorrow.